In this video, we'll take a sneak preview into some of the basic transformations in Rhino. Keep in mind, this is just a brief demo, but we'll cover each of these transformation topics in greater detail in upcoming sections. Let's start off by doing some basic moves. So we've already covered a little bit of these as far as dragging, just selecting and moving it around. Notice how it snaps to any points it sees. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Control-Z to undo that. It's also moving on the construction plane. That's important to note. So the nudge is kind of nice. I use this quite a bit. This was also discussed earlier. We're going to hit the arrows up and down. It's a great way to move stuff out of the way or make something new or make a copy. This new stuff will be the relative coordinates. I'm going to select the object and go to the move. It's also up on the transform toolbar and on the transform menu. Okay, I have to give it a point to move from. So I'm just going to snap to the center. Notice my center snap is turned on. And instead of snapping somewhere, we're going to just give it a relative distance or number of units. So this is R is the symbol, 50, 0, and that stands for 50x and 0 in the Y. And you could hit comma with a third number, and that would be in the Z. We'll just use the first two. So that was successfully completed. Let's Control-Z to undo. Let's try moving this at an angle. Same command, move. Give it a starting point. Now I'm going to type in the at, which will be the distance 90, and then the angle is the less than sign, 45 degrees. There you go. So that should give you pretty much every occasion to move stuff around. Next up, we'll try some rotating. I'm going to grab this whole group of stuff here with the crossing window. Here is our rotate. We're just going to do 2D rotate first. So I can just pick one of the endpoints. Doesn't matter where I'm starting. Just going to rotate around that one plane. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to make it another rotation in the front view just to make this interesting. So I'm going to snap that bottom point, top point, and just tip it over a little bit. Now we'll go back to perspective and do something really tricky. We're going to leave this all selected. We're going to right-click to rotate in 3D. This allows us to select 2 points for the axis. That's why I got the blue line there. And now it knows exactly how it's oriented. And if we give it a starting point, we can rotate around that crazy angled axis. Notice all the snaps are on too, so it's jumping around a bit. I'm going to pause for a bit here. Okay, before we move on to scale, I'm going to show you another little fix for rotating. Because if someone had sent you a file with something at a crazy angle or it got accidentally rotated, it might be nice to be able to fix it without knowing all the numbers. I'm going to move one of these guys upright, and I don't know its current starting position. So I'm going to go to one of the side views, go full screen here. So I'm going to select these two parts of the strut. I also have got the screen down here on the right view in ghosted view. So we're just going to do a really simple 2D rotate. I'm going to snap to the center, and then zoom back out, snap to the center up here at the top. There it is. Now I've just defined an angle. What that angle is, I have no idea, and I really don't care. So I'm just going to go over and hold down the Shift key. So I went from whatever it was to perfectly straight. It's a great way to fix stuff without having to do any sort of math. Okay, now let's talk about some scaling ideas. Let's start off with a 1D scale. So we can go up to the toolbar here. Here's the 3D scale, 2D and 1D. Little toolbar fly out. Let's try a 1D scale. 1D scales can be really handy, but you got to watch out. If we do any scaling with fillets, they typically would get messed up unless you do like a 3-dimensional scale, and you'll see here in just a second. So I'm going to pick this one that's been turned straight up. Do a 1D scale. Let's pick it from here. Pick those objects. Now I should probably definitely be in ghosted view again up in this viewport. There's the ghosted. Enter when done. Origin point. This is where I want to make sure I get right on the center of that. This is why I'm in ghosted view. Also in perspective, you can rotate around any of the conflicting geometry. So we've been able to pick the center there pretty easily. There's the center of the top. Now finally we can stretch that in one dimension. Let's talk about another type of 1D scale. I am going to scale the foot here, and we'll see this problem I mentioned as far as messing up the fillets. So I'm going to stretch that guy way out. So just a word of caution, if you're going to be scaling stuff without being in 3 dimensions, you might want to get all the fillets, save them for later, not have them already done like I am now, because you can see those are just kind of like smeared. And it's probably not what you want. Same thing goes for 2D scaling. So that'll be just scaling pretty much on those two planes. Not as bad. But if you wanted to be accurate and not lose any details, you definitely want to go with the 3D scale. So here we're in 3D scale. So everything's maintained uniform proportions to each other. You're going to undo that. Last thing I'd like to cover is copy-paste. That sounds really simple, but it's a very powerful technique when studying multiple types of design variations. For example, we talked about fillets. You might want to see what a larger fillet or a smaller fillet looks on the same object. So I do this all the time. So I would grab a group of geometry or just a single piece, doesn't matter. Hit copy, paste. And with 3 or 4 nudges, move it out of the way. Copy, paste, the last one. So now I have some geometry to explore upon and do some experiments, changing the sizes, the shapes, the scale, the fillets, whatever. So creating objects goes hand in hand with the ability to transform them. Whether it's moving, rotating, or scaling, or just making lots of copies, you can easily spend far more time editing than you do creating.